What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. I have the day off. I gotta catch up. There's a lot of boxing videos that I wanted to talk about, but just been real swamped, busy with work, different projects. So I gotta get my prediction out there. That's Adrien Broner versus Paulie Malignaggi. Check out the video and the video responses. And that was just more or less an opinion-based video with some cool audio attached to the end. Let me know what you guys think of this fight. This is my official prediction. As far as my prediction, I like the matchup. You have a fighter young like Broner. He's young, and one of the biggest complaints is, aside from his personality, because I don't really give a shit about that. I'm talking boxing. One of the biggest boxing complaints is that he hasn't faced anyone. That he's a paper champion. He's overrated. He's only had a few like marquee quality opponents, and he had a tough time with Ponce de Leon. Those are the main complaints that I've heard about Broner when it comes to in the ring. He's overrated or he hasn't fought anybody. Then you have Paulie Malignaggi, who some people say he's a weak champion, and he doesn't have power. Those are the complaints that I've heard about Paulie Malignaggi. However, I still think this is a good fight. A lot of people, if you know the fight game, you'll know that it's not always based merely on size. Size does not necessarily tell you the outcome of a fight. Traditionally, there's been a lot of people. I mean, even if you look at Mike Tyson, and I'm not comparing either of these two fighters to Tyson, but Tyson wasn't the biggest heavyweight. He was a big puncher, but I mean, a guy who was like 5'10", 5'11". Some of his competition was 6'4" and 260 pounds. I mean, he fought big guys, and he was generally the smaller heavyweight. I mean, that's just what it is. So weight and all that doesn't always tell the tale. And then again, biggest complaint with Broner that I've heard is the fact that he's overrated, hasn't fought anybody. Paulie Malignaggi has fought somebody. He is a seasoned fighter, so whether he's pillow fist or whatever you want to call, that's also against guys more or less that have been fighting at his weight class. The Juan Diaz's, Ricky Hatton's, Miguel Cotto's, Amir Khan's. I mean, these guys were fighting at higher weight classes versus Broner, who was fighting at 130, 135 recently. So will Broner be able to take a punch from a welterweight, someone who's just bigger than him, by moving up two weight classes? In my opinion, I think Paulie Malignaggi can make it interesting early by outboxing him, but I don't think Paulie Malignaggi has the same level of legs that he once had, and I think a fighter like Broner, he would need all the legs that he can get, and I just see Broner stopping Paulie Malignaggi either by KO or TKO. I give him props if he can actually knock him out, like to the point where Malignaggi doesn't make the count, because Malignaggi, despite him being feather-fisted, if you will, he's been in there with the Miguel Cottos, he's been in there with the Amir Khans, Ricky Hattons, and none of them knocked him out cold. They tore him up and TKO'd him, but he's never been knocked out cold. So if Broner can't do that, I do give Broner more credit for that. But I see him being stopped some kind of way. I don't see it going the distance, especially with the animosity and the trash talking that has occurred pre-fight. I think both fighters are going to train well. Both fighters are going to bring it. And I think Broner has more to lose, because even though he's a younger fighter, a lot of people complained, said, oh, you fought Gavin Reese and you fought bums. And Malignaggi's really stressing that point. Malignaggi also said at age 23, Mayweather fought... he said Mayweather fought Corrales, and at age 23, Broner fought Gavin Reese. And obviously, you can't compare Diego Corrales at that time to Gavin Reese. So a lot of people are stressing that point. So I think Broner has more to lose, just because he's garnered a fan base. He's got the attention. There's even the stuff like Earl Spencer. I did a video about that. They said he knocked him out in training camp. People would not let that go, and everyone was talking about it. So Broner's making a name for himself, and he wants to stay on that high horse. And Paulie Malignaggi, if he were to lose to Broner, it's kind of to be expected. I think Broner is the favorite, but Paulie can make it an interesting fight. I don't see him having the punching power or the level of legs needed to keep Broner off of him for 12 rounds. And I think we're going to get a really focused Broner. And truth be told, Broner's bigger than a lot of people give him credit for. I did an interview with heavyweight Jonathan Banks, and he was basically saying the same thing. He is fighting on the undercard. take a look at that interview that I did with Banks. Really good guy. Banks said the same thing. People are acting like Broner's this small dude. He's not really small. His reach is right up there with Floyd Mayweather and Canelo's reach, who are guys who have fought at welterweight and 154, and he has the dimensions and the reach of fighters like that. He's naturally bigger when he was fighting at 130, 135. I mean, he was pretty much bigger than most of the guys at those weight classes. So for him to move up to 147, it might actually be helping him. I don't know how his speed will look, but he probably has less weight to cut because I think he naturally walks around 148 to probably 153, 155 maybe. So that's less weight for him to have to cut, and he can just focus on strength, speed, and that kind of stuff, more of the strength and conditioning things, as opposed to cutting weight to make it to 130. Same thing with people like Brandon Rios. Brandon Rios, he might actually look better against Pacquiao than he has at against Abril, because Pacquiao may or may not be shot after the brutal knockout, and that's less draining, less starving yourself to focus on weight, and he could just focus on his training. So weight plays a significant part, and you got to give Broner props for being young and moving up 2 weight classes. But again, I just see Paulie Malignaggi not having the firepower to keep Broner off. He might embarrass Broner at portions of the fight. He might make it a difficult fight early, because Paulie Malignaggi does have a good jab, great jab, and I'm anxious to see how somebody like Broner, being the younger fighter, less experienced, how he deals with the jab. But if you watch the Paulie Malignaggi versus Pablo Cesar Cano fight, I thought Cano won. It was a close fight. Cano didn't come on till later, but towards the end of the fight, it looks like his legs and his stamina were really affected, and that's where Cano got the knockdown on Malignaggi. And if Paulie Malignaggi is not conditioned to take those big shots, and he doesn't have the legs in the later rounds, I'd see him getting stopped. So my vote is for Broner to win by either KO or TKO stoppage. I'll give it to rounds 7 through 9, because Paulie is seasoned and he knows how to stay out of trouble. And I just don't think he's gonna last the whole 12 rounds. I don't think he has the firepower or the legs to keep him off. So that's my ultimate prediction. I do think he has the skills, the mindset to trouble Broner early. We've seen Gavin Reese landed some good shots, so Broner can be hit. Hopefully he's working on his defense. It's not quite what a Mayweather defense is by any stretch. Mayweather's defense is far superior, but ultimately I think he will be able to take Paulie Malignaggi's best punches, even if it looks ugly, and then close the distance and get Paulie Malignaggi out of there. Again, I don't think he's as small as people are making him out to be. Even though he is jumping 2 weight classes, you got to give him credit for that. But yeah, I just see him overwhelming Paulie Malignaggi in accumulation of breaking down. Another thing I like about Broner a lot is, for his age especially, he's very patient, very, very patient. People don't give certain fighters credit. Lucas Matisse, another patient fighter. And what I mean by patience is Broner knows that he has natural strength, that he has natural power. It's evident in his KO ratio and in his fights, how they've ended. I think most of his last fights have ended in KOs or TKOs. And he doesn't get power happy, and he doesn't just headhunt. What I've seen, like in the Antonio DeMarco fight, Antonio DeMarco is a tough customer regardless of what other people think. And he was taxing DeMarco's body, chopping him up on the inside. And he wasn't just headhunting. He landed some vicious shots at close quarters up top, but he was also paying special attention to the body. And I think that is what caused DeMarco to get stopped, whereas Edwin Villaro didn't even stop him in the same fashion that Broner stopped him. And I think that's because he's upstairs, downstairs, and he does pay attention to the body. I've never really seen Broner punch himself out, so to speak. And you look at other power punchers like Maidana early when he fought Amir Khan. He had Khan seriously hurt, and in the midst of him being hurt, it looked like he punched himself out to the point where he wasn't affected. Ruslan Provodnikov versus Timothy Bradley. I mean, in rounds 1 and 2, Bradley was almost done for against the ropes, barely teetering on and dangling on, holding on for dear life. And he allowed Bradley to get his composure. And the way that happened is because it didn't look like he had the conditioning to keep up with his assault, and he punched himself out, and he kind of took some rounds off in the middle, which is the only reason I think Timothy Bradley won that fight, is during those middle rounds that Ruslan Provodnikov took off. That's where Bradley made it count and severely outboxed Ruslan Provodnikov, and he started fucking his eye up and opening, caused some swellings. I think he opened a cut on his eye, and that's really what saved Timothy Bradley in that fight. So with Broner, I think he exercises patience. I don't recall a fight. If you guys do, leave a comment, but I don't off top recall a fight where he had his person hurt and he wasn't able to finish them. I think Broner's a good finisher, and he doesn't just headhunt, which is good. He exercises patience. So all in all, I see Broner stopping Malignaggi. Malignaggi is a veteran, so I would say rounds 7 through 9. Let me know what you guys think of this fight. I'm really looking forward to it. I like the undercard a lot. Jonathan Banks, Seth Mitchell, another redemption type fight. And we'll see what Paulie Malignaggi brings. He's very confident in his skills and saying Broner is overrated and hasn't fought anybody. So he really feels he can win this. Let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next videos, Ego signing off.